العالمين الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. I want to ask you if you know who said this dua that I just said. Rabbi shrah li sadri, oh Allah, expand my chest with ease. وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي, make my task easy. And loosen a knot in my tongue. وَحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي, so that they will understand. يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي. Who said that and on what occasion? Yes. Prophet Musa alayhi salam. On what occasion? You forgot. Okay, anyone who may help this smart young man? Okay, anyone who would help who is young? I'm sorry, no need to offend anybody. Okay, who is young? No. You know the answer? So it is Prophet Musa, you agree? Yeah. Say it loud.
Monday.
What?
Monday.
He said it on Monday? What? Yeah, no, it's fine. But maybe it was Monday when he made this dua because God asked him to go with his brother Harun to the most whatever king in those days, whose name was Pharaoh. So before he would go, he made this dua so that it'll be easy for him to go. Nader, come and sit in the front with your brother or your son or whatever. He looks like your brother. Okay, so sit in the front, please, because we have 2 empty chairs. So that's what I started with. Okay, oh Allah, expand my chest with ease and make my task easy and loosen a knot in my tongue so that they will understand what I have to say. Why did Musa say loosen a knot in my tongue? We are, just trying to get off topic a little bit. Why did he say loosen a knot in my tongue? Okay, since you raised your hand, I know you know the answer. So why?
I think it's because he had a stammering problem.
That's right. He used to stutter. He used to, have difficulty speaking. So he asked God, oh Allah, help me. You created me. Help me so that when I speak in front of Pharaoh, he and the people around him will understand what I have to say. Okay? So I'm saying the same thing, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make today's session, which is unusually long today. It'll take about 3.5 hours, inshallah, until Asr time. And then, anybody who has problems with that? Yes. No, we're not going to stay that long. Okay, every time we'll finish by 2 o'clock, inshallah, or before. Now, did anyone read the title on the poster? Because every week the center is printing in green what the topic will be. Yes, we are talking about challenges facing Muslim youth today. Challenges, difficulties that we really need to know how to face. So what's the challenge we want to talk about today? If you read that in green on the poster, yes?
Talking about Islam to other people?
Yes. So the challenge of educating the public about Islam. Right? So this is what we want to talk about. And last week, I said we didn't finish talking about the challenge of separating Islam, and did we say it is possible to separate Islam from culture?
He said the sentence.
Is it possible? Is it possible to separate Islam from culture? The answer is no. So we established a rule because we're confused. I'm confused about certain things. There are people, can I tell you a secret, hoping that, the people I'm talking about will not mind, and if they mind, it's their problem. Shall I tell you something that I found to talk about it now? Okay, I am part of a WhatsApp group for 64 imams, mostly from GTA. Now, the problem I really faced last week is that they were talking about an issue. Guess what? Everybody agreed. Everybody agreed that for our children to go trick-and-treating saying that it is innocent, just candy, is wrong. And I said that last week, okay, that it is wrong. Now, how do we deal with this? I mentioned my opinion, but certain masajid in the GTA, held programs, family programs on the 31st, on maybe it was Wednesday. Okay, they brought the kids, they brought their parents. They had halwa, they had, games, they had treats to give to them. They had great time. Now, on Thursday, Friday, Saturday started to wane down. There was disagreement, big disagreement among imams. Some say we shouldn't have done that. Others said, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? So they all agreed that, no trick-or-treating, even though, let me tell you, I saw on Facebook many families still, feeling happy that, look, this is, how our son, our daughter went, as may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide us with guidance. Okay? But the thing is, to have that much disagreement about having a family program at the masjid. And the point of disagreement is we shouldn't hold it on the 31st. We should feel strong enough that on the 31st, okay, but my point is, until we reach that stage of spiritual health, we may need to taste a medicine, even though prophetic medicine is the alternative to the chemical medicine, probably whenever we feel ill. So you really need to have a medicine for the same purpose of healing. So having it on the 31st now, and later moving it to another date after the majority of our children feel secure enough and strong enough not to be moved by other kids, going and collecting candy, I believe it's okay. So we shouldn't even, and this is my point. We are spending our energy on this while the enemy is engaged in making strategies to get rid of those Muslims. Okay? Now, having said that, we established a rule that since Islam is a dynamic way of life, we have to live our lives. We cannot just say, okay, is this Islamic, religious in nature, and is this cultural? No, the rule is live your life, and everything you want to know whether you are doing the right thing or not, we said has to be Islamically acceptable and culturally comfortable. That's the rule. Ask yourself, is it culturally comfortable? After you ask, is it Islamically acceptable? If you don't know, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Go and ask people who help you. And I said, let's assign someone who is qualified to get us answers. Because not every Muslim can be in touch with a scholar who can give fatwa. But at least you can be in touch with someone who can ask somebody who can ask somebody who can give fatwa and give you the answer through that chain, inshallah. So we continue to talk about, culture, and before I continue, I want to tell you a fact. A long time ago, ancient Chinese people thought of protecting their country from the enemy. They thought, and then they came up with an idea that is still standing till today. They said, in order to protect our country, we are going to build a huge wall. Sur Sin al-Azim. We are going to build a huge wall that our enemies cannot bypass, they cannot reach us, and we will put guards all around. And that wall still stands till today. When people go and visit China, they've got to go and visit the Great Wall of China. But in the first, or after the first 100 years of building that wall, China was invaded 3 times, and in all 3 times, the Chinese lost. Their enemies were able to penetrate that wall and get inside China, and they won 3 times in 100 years. Almost every 33 years, well, whatever the case may be. How come? They thought that the wall is, impenetrable. Okay, but all the enemy did is that they bought the guards. The guards were so weak inside that it was easy to buy them, to give them money, to bribe them, it was easy. Once the guards who are guarding the doors were bribed, the gates were open and the enemy was asked to come inside. So the Chinese missed something that the Japanese now learned from them. And that is instead, and that's what the Japanese continue to do. And since the Second World War, which ended in 1945, so it is now 73 years. Within those 73 years, Japan has become one of the greatest powers in the world. Why? After Japan was finished through 2 nuclear bombs that were dropped over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Tens of thousands of people perished with those drops, okay? But within, and Japan has established itself by now, within 40 years, they stood up on their feet and they continued to stand higher and taller in this because they learned from history. And I'm mentioning this because we too, when I say we, I say Muslims, who, by the way, did not fall because of nuclear attack, but we are falling now because of other forms of attack. And we are now in very bad shape. We shouldn't really run away from reality and say, no, we are actually consider Islam that great wall. But That wall is not to isolate Muslims, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invited humanity to be inside this wall. All of humanity. Not Arabs, not only people who are born Muslim, but all of humanity is invited to come and be surrounded by Islam and keep shaitan outside. Shaitan is your enemy, as the Quran tells us. So partake shaitan as an enemy. Don't say, no. You see, it's just fun. No, shaitan played his game the night of the 31st. Okay? So that was the devil's night. He's our enemy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, shaitan is your enemy, and shaitan takes different forms. But the thing is, we have been bribed many guards, and I'll keep it, sugar-coated. Thank you, sister. Okay. Many people who are supposed to guard us were bribed. So now so many things are happening, and we don't know where to look now to seek protection. The reason I'm mentioning this is that you know by now what I'm trying to say, that Japan paid attention to building not a brick and mortar wall, but to build the human being. And human beings are built through, you should know what I want to say, it's a word that starts with E, and the second letter is D, and then the third letter is U. Education, mashallah! You're so smart. Even though he said it first. Sorry. He gets the credit. Even though he didn't pay $2, but it's okay. So it is education. Education. But it's okay. Don't feel bad, because I want to ask you another question. What's the difference between education and information? He didn't pay. So he's not. But you answered one of them. So come on, be nice. Be nice. Let him answer. What's the difference between education and information? Can I give you a hint that there are so many informed people that have lots of information, but they're not educated. They're not educated. There's a difference between information. Many of us, we think that we get educated by that little rectangular thing. We get educated through the school of Facebook and the school of WhatsApp and the school of YouTube and the school of, we think that we get so educated. But this is not education. It's information. Education is what will protect us from shaitan. Some people say, stop talking about shaitan. Now, and I may accept that argument. I'm not talking about shaitan as a fairy tale. I'm talking about shaitan as a power that takes us away from goodness, whatever it is. The way you want to visualize it and call that power that takes you from goodness, call that power shaitan. Now, in order for us to stand up on our feet again, we need to be educated. But notice, you said, or who said, that the title on the poster is The Challenge of Educating the yellow jacket, the challenge of educating the yellow jacket. Is that? That's what you said.
He said it.
Oh, sorry. The one he said that. So the challenge of educating what? Who said the public? So the challenge of educating others about Islam, to stop Islamophobia. But there's something in Arabic that we always say. Can somebody help me? I know it, but I would like to see if we are having the same wavelength. The challenge of educating others about Islam, but there's something in Arabic that goes like this. And because you see my brother and I always have the same wavelength, I'm looking at him. And usually he should read my mind. You know, in Arabic there is a method, there is a saying that goes like this. فاقد الشيء, which means someone who is missing a commodity, who is missing something, cannot give that something or share it with others. I do not have a PS4, so I cannot share it with you. I don't have it. So you can ask me for a PS4 or an Xbox. I don't have one. If I have it, I'll share it with you. Now, how can we educate others about Islam when we don't have that education? This is where I want to take us. That we agreed that in order for Muslims or the world, you know, many people now to the south of our border are saying, we are sorry. We selected someone to lead us who is not educated. He has lots of money, but he's not educated. And some people call him dangerous. Actually, anyone who's not educated is dangerous. Because when you don't have education, you can lead into the wrong, target. Therefore, the challenge of educating others about Islam has to start with us. Now, there is a scholar who is not a Muslim, who actually summarized something that we Muslims need, and for that matter, humanity needs. But we Muslims now, after the fact, realize that we need to understand what that scholar is saying. He said, if you want to destroy a human being or a group of human beings, you really need to destroy three things first. And once you destroy them, that group of human beings is finished. Number one, you have to destroy the family. Number two, you have to make education appear to be education when in fact it is misinformation, miseducation. It is not education. So try to play with what people assume is education. Try to inject into it things that are not truthful. Try to make it appear to be something which it is not. So destroy the family, destroy knowledge, and by that, education. And number three, can somebody guess? No, religion is education, but destroy role models. Once a group of people or an individual, who all of us need role models, always we are asked, when a famous person is interviewed, usually the interviewer say, who's your role model? Who was your role model? Who really inspired you to get where you are today? All of us have role models, and we as Muslims are expected to start with who as our role model? It's the yellow jacket again, so it's Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And many of you are shaking their heads, so now we are discovering what's going on. The family, we are struggling as human beings to maintain the definition that is in Oxford Dictionary. That definition is no longer, according to politically correct societies, valid. We cannot define a family as I grew up to understand, as it is taught to our children in the public school system. That definition is no longer. So the family is being attacked. A family now, especially, there are children who really watch programs on television where, in such a glittering backdrop, kids are yelling at their parents, telling them off, hitting their parents. And then the kids want to grow, so they end up doing the same thing. There are parents today who are being, listen to this, you may hear it's children being abused by their parents, but I am hearing more and more about parents abused by their children. You'll say, come on, don't talk, don't exaggerate. I tell you, I cannot exaggerate in those presentations. I can't. But there are children who think that this is, ya Satir, ya Rab. I tell you, if when I was still growing, my father would be sitting where he sits, and then I will sit on a chair, basically facing him, and because I really want to feel comfortable, and I sit a little bit more comfortable than my father, and he, I wouldn't even think of just raising my feet and just put them, in the, ya Satir, ya Rab. I know what would come if I would even think about it. Today, it's normal. Why are you upset? I just want to be comfortable in my family room. So what's your problem, Dad? The family is being attacked. And we will talk about the challenge of maintaining the family the way it should be. The family that was given in a recipe in the Quran, in many places, how to maintain a healthy family. Nobody is saying that, the father has to be, like this, and the mother... No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described a family as a place of peace and tranquility, where when you come, you will enjoy. Everybody is really loving to be in the company of other members of the family. So this is one. You want to destroy an individual, destroy a community, destroy a society. So number one, attack the family. Number two, cut into education. You have to play with education. And now, this is, because I want to talk about this today, or for the rest of the time, I don't know if I'll be able to finish. Probably I won't. Let me talk about number three. Number three, we will talk about that. Let me tell you first. You heard from many years now, it's been for maybe a decade and a half, where Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is being attacked, ridiculed. Before you were born, many of you, there was a novel by a supposedly a Muslim-born novelist by the name of Salman Rushdie. He wrote a thick novel called Satanic Verses. Okay? You know, I read the entire thing because I needed to, produce a response. And I tell you, the most painful reading I had in my entire life was to go through that book. And there are people, by the way, who are following suit. There are people living today. There are people living in London, Ontario. There are people who are living in Toronto. There are people living who are Salman Rushdis. And they are doing the same thing. Their purpose is to go all the way to the role models of Islam, tarnish their images, because if they discredit the role models, then, let's say if Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is discredited, what would be left of Islam? Nothing. So you will start with Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, immediately the Quran will be discredited because he's the one who related the Quran to us. And once the Quran is discredited, there's no Islam left. So this is what is being done to discredit role models. And now let's go back to number 2, which is education. Education is being changed. It's being attacked. So many things. So many things. I want to tell you, I gave the Friday khutbah last Friday in Toronto, and I mentioned something that some, and please forgive me, I say things as they are because, all Pakistanis know that I love their culture dearly. But when there are things being done wrong, I have to say that this is wrong. Okay? So I did mention that it was wrong to have the blasphemy trial of that Christian young woman, and the judge was killed because he supported her. And she was, I'll tell you the story just for people to say, what are you talking about? This woman is Christian. During Ramadan, she was working in the fields. She got thirsty. So she went to the well. I think it's not working anymore. I need another one. Maybe there is a Pakistani outside who turned it off. See, I told you, it's quickly, Brother Hisham, before he runs away. Bring him here. So, let's wait a little bit.
That whole incident is so embarrassing. That whole incident.
When I was talking about it, couple of zealots. Are we getting another one, or?
I think Brother Naji went. He grabbed something.
It ran out of money. You are absolutely correct. They didn't pay. Quickly! Quickly. Oh. Now, okay, back to order. So, Other Muslim girls working in the field came with her, and you cannot drink. She said, I'm thirsty, I'm tired. No, you can't. And probably how, she was trying to say, something. She was declared as a blasphemous person and a big case, and the ulama and the mulawis and things, they called for her execution. And I mentioned from the minbar that to turn our Islam into something which it is not, to make the education of Muslims such that the judge who ruled that she is innocent was killed.
That's not killed. The governor got killed who wanna leave.
Sorry, see, he's a zealot. He's one of those. Anyway, the governor. Okay. Now,
And still,
this is not Islam.
and still they put her in jail for
Yes.
10 years.
Yes. So I was saying, and let me tell you, since Friday, I've been receiving emails from Boston, from Chicago, from Texas. It has reached all the way to those places that there is an Arab imam who is attacking Pakistanis, who is attacking, and this is what I'm trying to talk about. Education. Actually, it was my son-in-law who really helped me back from answering those emails. Yesterday he said,
Leave them alone.
don't answer, don't respond. Even though one of them actually described me by descriptions I won't even mention, okay? But the thing is, the reason this is happening is that we don't know our deen anymore. This is where I want to get us. Before we will go and invite other people from Ahl al-Kitab to Islam and say, Takbir, Allahu Akbar. Now the Muslim community is becoming so strong. One more person entered the fold of Islam. Don't get too excited. Let's ourselves get to know. And this is where I want to ask now. Sister Sadia, I want to ask you. You were taught Islam because you were born in Pakistan. And through the environment there, you were taught something called Islam. How much of that, percentage-wise, your children are being taught? I know that you have tried Islamic schools, you have tried, but do we have the resources here? Now, okay, I know that Brother Mir, who is now taping, he's one of the silent activists, so to speak, who basically goes and say, how can we improve, Islamic education? Because now, one child per month, Brother Mir, how much does it cost to send one child to an Islamic school in London?
In 10 years, it will cost $100,000.
See, the reason I asked you is that you sent an email, okay, in the 10 years you need to send your son or daughter to Islamic school. You really need to save about $120,000. And if you have 2 children, many have 3 or 4, then if you are not somebody who has a spare of $500,000, then forget about what they call Islamic education. And besides, would you like to know who turned the speaker off? He just came in now. He was hiding somewhere and he heard, something about Pakistan, and he said, I love you, Brother Tariq. Now, the thing is, it's about time. There are still people who take their kids out of grade 12, 2 years of school of Hifz before they go to university. if these 2 years will be established to do hafz of Islam, of what's Islam, of if we establish schools for the teachings of the Quran. And you know what? With that, we may memorize, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but to memorize the words without what's in the words, it's defeating the purpose. The way I was taught Islam is repeat after me. That's how I was taught. And if I did not repeat as per the pleasure of the teacher, there was a long stick waiting for me. Repeat. I tell you, just to have a joke, may Allah bless his soul if he's dead, may Allah give him a long time if he's still alive, my English teacher. Okay, when you are taught English by someone whose mother tongue is not English, they tell you, so I still remember one word. You may laugh if you want, if I say it, because that's what my children did. The teacher, English teacher, وَلَكْ يَا إِبْنِي repeat after me, comfortable. Can you guess what that word is? It's comfortable, okay? So he said, وَلَكْ repeat after me, comfortable. That's how I was taught. I saw Muhammad here. Where's he? He left. There's a common joke. Okay. The same thing, when I first arrived in Canada, okay, I gave my first speech 3 months after my arrival at a youth conference in Toronto. And I learned 3 months into coming to Canada that if you want to give a speech, you have to start with an icebreaker. Okay? So you have to tell something where everybody will relax, and then you start, okay? Like I did today, collecting the $2. Now, so I told a joke, okay? But then nobody laughed. Nobody. I was so offended. Okay, so I looked at them and I said, what's wrong with you? You didn't understand my joke? And then they started to laugh. When I said, you didn't understand my joke? Okay, they started to laugh and they said, oh, alhamdulillah, they are so slow. Okay. And then when I finished, my younger brother Samir, came to me and said, I want to tell you something. I said, what's wrong? He said, come. So he whispered in my ear. He said, you know why they laughed? I said, yeah, but they were so slow. He said, no, actually, they are very fast. But you don't say jock, you say joke. Okay? So you get to learn. You get to learn. So we really need, again, back to education. I am calling from this, platform, that we really need to, and I'm looking at the person who is in charge. And by the way, the same as you will be asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Hassan, Naji, you will be asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what did you do for the community that you are responsible for? Okay, I call from this minbar that between both of you and those interested to call for a workshop or conference to revisit Islamic education in the West, whereby we learn from the Japanese model. In Japan, kids don't fail until they are in grade 9. There's no failure. And kids are taught, call it a course, call it something that is called akhlaq, manners. Kids are told to clean the school once they are finished. They have half an hour before they go home, they have to clean. The kids are taught how to respect their environment. The kids are taught how to eat without, throwing leftovers. The kids are taught these things that now, I tell you, still it will never leave my, memory. Never, never, never. The first trip of Umrah that I took new Muslims to was in 2004. I organized a trip in 2004, all of them, 43 of them were new Muslims. And the last day in Mecca, I'm not angry, don't worry, but I want everybody to follow. You see, when someone is talking, you don't talk to each other, okay? No, it's okay, don't worry. Okay. So let's all pay attention because this is important, okay? The last day in Mecca, I took them to the cave, Ghar Hira, where Prophet Muhammad ﷺ received the first revelation of the Quran. Read in the name of your Lord. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Who created? خلق الإنسان من علق. We climbed all the way to the cave. And then on the way down, we really needed to come down as quickly as possible because we need to get ready because we are leaving at 2:30 to Medina. So halfway as I was going, okay, they called me, okay, Dr. Munir. I stopped. Said, can we talk to you? And I said to myself, why do they want to talk to me on a slope? Can't they wait until we reach the base, down? They said, can you stop? I said, maybe somebody's injured, maybe something. So I stopped. And then when they all gathered, I said, what's the matter? They said, can we stay one more day in Mecca? I said, no, we can't. I was annoyed that this is what's on their mind, okay? Can we stay one more? Because I thought they enjoyed Mecca, they want one more day. So I said, why do you want to stay one more day in Mecca? They said, because we want to come tomorrow after Fajr back to this mountain, Jabal al-Nur, to clean it. Because we cannot accept that there's so much garbage on the way leading to Ghar Hira, to the cave. We can't. We just can't. And these are the new Muslims. Some of them, were Muslim for a few months, some of them for 3 years, some of them for 20 years, whatever the case may be. But they could not really reconcile Islam with garbage.
Because they were trained for cleanliness.
Come and continue, my point. That's exactly what I was going to say. Because they were not trained. The thing is, if we teach our children from young age through a modified understanding of education. Hassan is upset with me now because he's not looking at me because I said you're responsible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, now, honestly, unless we change the way we teach our kids, and I tell you, okay, now kids who are younger than 17, close your ear. No, don't do that. No, don't do that. We are not hiding anything from you. The truth is, unless we do something to change how we teach, when they will have a diluted form of Islam, we will be 6 feet under. We will not be around. And it's not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought us to Canada for. Oh, no, I take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Because it's not coming to Canada. It's all over the world. My wife was shaking last Friday morning when, a group, she is part of a WhatsApp group of women from her childhood school, and they sent her, okay, now, Egyptians, don't be angry with me. There was a wedding where they wanted to have a new style. Muslims. So they said that the bride and the groom are going to be dressed in nightgowns. And all attendees, all guests are required to come in their nightgowns. I'm glad somebody is saying, what is a nightgown? Okay, something. Now, when reach that level, that this is, it's a private party, why are you so upset? Because when our kids are taught that this is okay, then other things that are closer to that okay will become okay as well until we reach the limit without realizing. And remember what I said about the frog experiment. That's what happens. Because our kids now, in the whole earth, they are seeing a world with different spectacles than we saw it. Again, I like to mention things not in the third person, but as I received them. My brother, just this morning, sent, we, the brothers and sisters, my family, 6 of us, we have a group. When we don't want our children to see or hear what we have to say, we exchange these things. You read it, Bahis. There is someone who wrote about the good old days in Beirut, Lebanon. How life was to us in the city where we were born. And honestly, I have tears running down for no reason. It wasn't a sad story. It was sad because as I was reading it, I said, Allah, Allah, what happened? What happened? As if he was talking about a different globe. And I wrote to my brothers and sisters, I said, is it true that as things pass, they don't come back again? If this is the case, then I'm very sad. Because it means that whatever is left of what I'm giving my children, they will not be able to give their children. Okay, I think, one thing that, my wife told me last time, and even my son-in-law told me, that I did not allow for any interaction. I'm sorry, I get carried away. I'm sorry, I want you next time to stop me. But the thing is, I wanted to get to a point where I make my presentation, but let me tell you first, next week, if you will wonder where I am, I'm not abandoning this series, but I have to be in Fort McMurray, inshallah, for a conference, but I have arranged for 5 or 6 sisters and brothers, young, about 2 years younger than me, who will, anybody who laughed is not allowed to attend. Why are they laughing? So anyway, so there will be, next week, I will interrupt the challenge about educating ourselves and others. The topic next week will be the challenge of becoming successful in a difficult world. So 5 or 6 very successful young Muslims will be talking 10, 12 minutes each to share with you how she did it, how he did it, how they did it as a couple. You know, and I'm sure, inshallah, it'll be exciting. And if you feel strongly about a certain challenge, Hassan, you still did not send me your list. Remember? Oh.
I sent it.
I know you sent it, okay, but he didn't. He's guilty. Okay. So I'm going to talk to the person who will make you send it. She's shaking her head. Okay, now I know you will send it. Okay, so if you feel strong about something, please send it to me.
Okay.
And another thing is, if you want a specific thing that I address, like today, I tell you, there was something specific I received, which I mentioned in a general way. Nobody knew what it was, but I mentioned it. And I hope that the person who heard it in a general sense would have received the message. Because, you know, there's no point in hearing something and then we go and do something else at home. So inshallah, Naji and Hassan, why did you raise your eyebrows? So, Hassan, you know, the fact that you were booted out of office, no, the fact that you are not called now, okay, the chair or the president, doesn't mean that I know that you continue to work, but please do something. Let's show that we're not just talking. You know, let's do something. Let's do something, okay, practical. Let's all, and I want to tell you something that I want to assign somebody to work on it. You know, an idea, maybe it will not materialize. But I want to put somebody who feels strongly about it, who is serious to work on it. You know, my experience, I've been, alhamdulillah, since 1999, okay, going every year for 2 or 3 umrahs per year, and for Hajj, alhamdulillah. So I noticed that the best place to gulp real Islam
This place.
is right here. So I want to suggest that during March break, we organize for our community in London a Umrah trip whereby we will check how we are spiritually when we go to Mecca and Medina. Now, if there is somebody who is really serious about taking names, getting, you know, by the way, if you are younger than 18, you need one of your parents to be with you. And if it is the mother, then you need the father, because, you know, there are,
Some conditions.
some conditions. So the father has to accompany kids who are less than 18, okay? So if we can go, you know, during March break, it'll be beautiful. If there's somebody who will start to take names of interested people, students, kids, boys, girls, mothers, fathers, okay, can I see a show of somebody who's interested? Nobody? Okay. You take names, mashallah. See.
Names or just interested?
No interest in going?
Yeah.
Okay. Your father is so proud of you. I saw him yes, he is, okay. Your father is so proud of you, mashallah. And I'm proud of your family, by the way. But, you know, think about it. But I need someone who will take names. Is there someone who is, okay, anyway, you'll take names? Okay, inshallah. What's your name? Fuad. Fuad Dahr. Did I say it right? Gulad. Gulad. Okay, so Gulad will collect names, Okay, if there is enough interest, inshallah, we will organize, a trip for the community, bi'idhnillah. Okay, so inshallah, I will see you 2 weeks from now, inshallah. And next week it'll be exciting. And please send me your comments, and we will make it a little bit more. And perhaps in 2 weeks, we can have more interaction than what I said. And then I will continue my presentation up. Please think about what I said. And I leave one thing with you. You know something, I repeat that if you become subscribers of my YouTube channel, it will really make it reach more people, and it will really become more influential, inshallah. And like those videos, they will be uploaded, inshallah, in about 3 minutes after we leave. Now, inshallah, by tonight they will be uploaded, and it's $1.50, $1.50. Now, so please do that. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العظيم جزاكم الله خير والسلام عليكم.